Come manage a syntropic row with me.
We'll prep the bed for management, run through a fertilizer recipe covering all 6 plant macronutrients, harvest some timber from the system, learn a few machete tricks for managing bananas, then lay it all back down to feed the soil and get the productive plants geared up for some great growth.
So you see on this section here, we've cleared all the organic matter back that's kind of decomposing. And then we remove the running grasses because they are in a different life cycle than the productive plants. And we make sure we leave the soil behind because they release really powerful root exudates that accumulate biology. There's not a lot there, but you can see how long the roots go. This is the pineapple and coffee, and we're removing the arrowroot as well. Kind of just clearing up the bottom of the bed so that we can put all of the new organic matter that we're about to cut. So we'll cut the castor oil there, we'll cut these, and then we lay them down on the bed and then start piling timber that we'll cut from the big trees. See the eucalyptus there? All of that will be laid on top so that the biology in the soil gets a good feast and can make use of all that energy that's accumulated through photosynthesis over the past couple of years of the system. Yeah, this is just the initial steps. All right, so we've cleared the entire bed and now it's time to fertilize. So let's get it. All right, so we got our fertilizer mix here. So going through the macronutrients, starting with nitrogen, we've got the castor oil meal and the bone meal, which both the meals. And then going on to phosphorus, so the P, we've got the rock powder, so rock phosphate, and bone meal as well. And then, so K, the third macronutrient, is potassium. That is the rock powder again. Then going into magnesium, we've got dolomite, and then calcium is the 3 powders. So we've got dolomite, gypsum, and ag lime. Then finally, sulfur is in the 3 powders as well, but particularly in the gypsum. So that's our 6 macronutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and sulfur. And we put it on the bed just by sprinkling it on either side. Yeah, that's a lot of information. There we go. So this is the compost. This is for organic matter after we've put the fertilizer on. Here's one of my mangoes. And we make a ring like around the pineapple to keep adding a bit more. Get it in the back. There's the mango. Fertilizer down, compost down around the productive plants, and then we remove castor oil, these guys, and then we'll move on to cutting down the eucalyptus. We're keeping the cajueirina, guapuravu, native Brazilian tree, and the red cedar there, and then the acacia njau. I don't know if that's how you properly say it. That's going too, and that will be the timber that we lay down on the bed, just like we've got here already. And these measure the water saturation, the pressure of how much the plants have to pull to get water out of the soil. You typically want it in this range, 30 to 0 for horticulture, where this is at 20 centimeters depth and this is at 40 centimeters depth. We're a little low there, but it's dry season here, so the water probably isn't penetrating quite as much as it usually does. And then we've gotten some rain recently, so that's why the top 20 is a little more hydrated. Alright, so this is the castor oil. We're cutting it back, so I thought I could use my sickies, but I'm actually going to have to use the handsaw. So here's the handsaw. And we're just going to get in there and cut her down, because the castor oil is not a productive plant in the system. So there we go. There's the castor oil done. And then we just use the sickies and snip those long bits off and then lay it on the side of the bed, ready to be tucked in. So there's some more biomass for the system. Here is another one we're removing. These look a bit thick for sickies, but let's try. Pressing in the way that we're cutting. Got it. There we go. See that? Let me snip them down. There. And then lay it down again. We just repeat that process till we've cleared out all the non-productives so that we can open up and give a bit more light to the productives, because this climate is quite shaded and wet, so we need that extra airflow and sunshine. There we go. So the role of these guys, the Leocina, as they're leguminous, they accumulate nitrogen in the soil, and then right now us cutting them back is good for biomass. So having multiple roles is important. So then we just lay it down, try and get it to be in contact, so it's not in contact here, so we'll cut it, because you want the fungi to be able to reach it and start decomposing it so that it's accessible to the plants. Alright, so now that the lower stuff's done, it's time to cut the big eucalyptus down. So you look at where it's leaning. It's a bit windy today, so we're going to be careful. I'm going to cut halfway through the side that it's leaning on. Alright, and then a little over 2 fingers above, and we start cutting halfway again. And then put the saw away, just like that, and then get ready, and then start rocking it, and it should snap. And there we go. So it still was attached just a tiny bit, so I'll just cut that, and there we go. Okay, now that all the weight's been taken off, you just cut at the base. Now we got some good timber to put on the beds. Okay, so now we take the machete and we just get these little sticks off. As you can see, being careful to make sure that the machete is always outside of the striking zone of your body. Just like that. Make sure we're close to the thick stems as well, so that it lays flat on the bed. Keep flipping it. This is a good technique to have it always going away from your body. Alright, and then I'll take my sickies and clip the little ends off, just to make sure it's really smooth. Sometimes it's just easier to use the secateurs for accuracy, especially on these little ones that can be cut easily. Alright, then we're left with just pretty much the bare eucalyptus pole. So I'll cut this up using the handsaw. Lots of tools to think about. There's one. There's two. It's pretty easy to cut. There we go. Okay, so here's a guava that I've cut, and so you lay the timber close to the productive plants like this pineapple, so that they can get all of those nutrients when the fungi comes and decomposes it. So now that the timber is down, we take the leaves that we've cut off the poles of the eucalyptus, and then we begin the tuck-in process of lying down leaves so that there's no bare soil exposed, because we don't want that drying out from the sun and the air. The air is the big factor. We make sure we're not smothering our productive plants either. You can even rip the stems off here so you can get more specific coverage. So we've laid down all of the leaf litter from the eucalyptus. You can see it's a lot more empty now. And now it's time to do the pole pruner on the standing trees like the casuarina and the red cedar. So we're just clearing up the stem and then cutting the head off of it so that it stays at a manageable height. And then we'll get on to bananas. Alright, pole pruner. Alright, now for the banana. So we're going to try and slice it on an angle and then catch it. Kind of like that, but I lost my glasses. And you can see how juicy that is. It's just really watery. And then we'll process this. Slice the ferns off. There we go. And then we're left with the fronds and the heart, or the stem of the banana. Cut down the center. Basically slice it in half. Like so. Being careful not to slip. Then use your foot to finish it off. Like that. And then there's your banana stems. That banana brings lots of water and potassium. Now we need to cut the eye out of the banana so it doesn't regrow. So we put the machete down in and pull, being careful of the pup. This is a pup here, so it's a clone of the mother that it puts out to regrow, and we'll let that stay. So we just keep sliding it in and twisting until we loosen it up. It's pretty physical work removing it, but it's pretty satisfying as well. There we go. Alright, so now that we've got it pretty much out, I'm going to pull it away from the pup right there. And we're going to finish up the cut that we couldn't make. There we go. This is the solid part there. And then in here is where we need to cut a bowl to really get that eye out. So I'll start carving there, try to get it on an angle, cut it out. Alright, so now you can see the bowl there, and very quickly that's going to fill with water from the sap coming up. This is a pup that I was talking about. So that's the new growth, and that will turn into one of these guys. It grows up. And now I need to process this, so I'm going to cut it into a few pieces and then split it in half like I did before. So we'll cut the leaves off from the bottom up because otherwise they tear down. Alright. Now we want to cut it into a few pieces. There we go. There's one piece. Can almost get all the way through these, but they're pretty tough. There we go. That's two. And now, like before, we'll slice down the middle again. Pretty much back and forth. There we go. And these ones with the heart in the middle, you just try and hit it in the middle and slice. So I hit on the left there a little bit, but that's all right. There we go. There's the big part. Done. Okay, so now we take the stems, all the nutrition they have, we put them, nestle them right in. This is a mango. Nestle them right in there so that they get that nutrition and water. Here's the coffee. Same thing. Right in there. Boom. Alright, this is the final tuck-in step. You put the banana fronds on the bed. And that is what a finished row looks like. Right there. Alright, there's a finished row. You can see how much more open it is than before. And then we've got our productive plants still hanging out. It's all tucked in with the banana fronds. Looking beautiful.